Hi and welcome to Steve Wraith's True Crime Podcast. I'm joined by Mick Sorby today. Hi Mick, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming on, Mick. You've got a book coming out which is called HARTLEPOOL Born and Bred. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But I just want to get a picture of who you are and a little bit about your life, Mick. So tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Right. Well, my dad, he wasn't the best dad in the world. He was fairly, well, he was just free with his fists a bit, that's all. But there's other people probably had the same upbringing. I'm not by myself. But he was. I remember that things he done to me, there was 9 children in the family, 9 kids, right? And I remember it was on the Boxing Day, and this is just one. I can remember loads of things he done to me. And they went out for a drink with my mum, and come in, and I fell asleep. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. I was only about 11, I think, 10 or 11. And he come in, and he said, the fire's out. So he gave me a clip, maybe light the fire again. Then maybe it was on the Boxing Day, it was about 4 inches of snow on the floor. Maybe take all the clothes off and shut me out in the back garden. I was sleeping in the dog kennel with a dog to keep warm. Locked the door, wouldn't let me back in. You know, this definite things like that, but they stick in your mind, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of upbringing, it's going to make you, toughen up, isn't it, Mick?
Yeah. And he like other things he done to me, like from being about 12, 13, when he had a drink, he used to take me out in the back garden because she had a fairly sized garden. He said, "If I'm going to leave me there and knock it out." It wasn't just, I don't know. A few times when he's being beaten, another thing what he done was so horrible to me. This, do you know them army belts with the 2 buckles on the back?
Yeah.
He had one. He should always be on the back door. And I probably wasn't the best behaved kid, but if I'd done something wrong, he should make me go and get it. Take it to him and stick a belt me with it. It's a bit degrading, that, isn't it? Huh?
Was he like that with every child?
No, just me. Because he was away in the army when I was born, and he didn't think I was his. I am. He is my dad. You know, my mother's been through with me, yeah. But he didn't think I was. And I don't know why he thought his wife was messing about like that. I don't know why. He kind of had no respect for her either, can he?
No, definitely not.
Yeah. And a few times when he's had me on the floor kicking me, my mum's dad on top of me when I was a kid, and she took the kicks instead of me. Then when I got older and I got punch his face in, he was like a little girl. He started crying at the door, wouldn't come out and fight me. Yeah. He's just a bully and a coward. And I don't think he would never have changed.
What was your relationship like with your dad when you grew older?
It wasn't much of a one. If I went in the local pub, we was in there, I'd say hello to him. But I wouldn't say we were the best of friends. Definitely not. No. In fact, I used to try to avoid him, to be honest.
Do you think that violence at the start of your life, Mick, that shaped you, into the man that you became?
It made me. Do you know, I know this is going to sound silly what I'm saying here, but every fight I've had, I could see him in front of me, and that's what pushed me on. You know, I could see his face. I just wanted to destroy it. And nobody should feel like that about the parents, should they?
No, definitely not. I mean, obviously, the career path that you chose,
was it would be great for that.
Was doing the doors, working on the doors. I mean, how did that start off, Mick?
Right. There was this bloke called Mike, they called him. He would. Can you remember that Angus Sibbett who got shot at Heading?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Well, he used to work for him, and he took this nightclub over. And I just went in one night, and I was talking to him, and he said, "Do you fancy doing a bit of door work?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't done it before." He said, "Well, I think it was about £1.10 a night then." I said, "Go on, and yeah, I'll give it a try." So I did give it a try, and I did. I really enjoyed it. And he was really good to me, that bloke. Really good. He left. I stayed there for a little while longer, and we just moved on to different things. Then a lad called Mick Blackwood and Philly Tover started an agency shop for Darwin. It made me like the foreman. Do you know what I mean? I'd go around checking the pubs for them. Make sure they're all right. It's good. Good job. About 51 years I've done it.
Can you remember your first bit of bother, your first fight?
Yes, it was in this where I first started. The first proper fight, not just.
Yeah, well, your first fight on the door.
Yeah. It was in a place called what do you call it? I think his name just not sure. I went in, and there was some colouring came down from Blackpool Leasing on that way, and it was, you knew when it come in, there's going to be trouble. And I wasn't working there anyway. This kid was torn on, and we ended up having a little bit of a roll about. He come and stuck. He was knocked out in about 5 seconds. And that's when he asked me if I fancy a job on door. This Mike, he was a good bloke. Anyway, I didn't look back. I enjoyed every minute I worked on the door. Every minute.
It was
sorry?
a tough place to start, really. I mean, Hartlepool, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, it's probably quite a rough area to work on the door, I would imagine.
Well, I was working down Churches. That's where most of my work was, Churches. That was rough down there. Yeah, proper rough. Yeah. You
came across some interesting names when you were working on the door in the northeast, and I think the stories that circulate on Tyneside and Teesside and Wearside circulate around 3 people, and that's Lee Duffy, Ernie Buick, and Viv Graham. Yeah. Tell us a story about Lee Duffy.
Right, Lee Duffy. I only met him 3 times in my life, and then it was funny. I had this kid called Irish Jimmy. He's a big lad working with us. And we went through to Middlesbrough because there was no opening article after we finished work, and night club shut late. So we went through this cafe through there. It was open all night. And we get in, sat there, and Brian Cockle and Lee Duffy were there. But I've known Brian since he was a child, known him a long time. I'm a good pal of his mum and dad. Anyway, they were looking over. Right? And this Irish Jimmy said to me, "Who they're looking at?" He said, "Do they want bother?" I said, "No, I don't think we do, son." I said, "Let's just forget about it." Anyway, Brian came over and gave me a hug and shook my hand. Then Lee Duffy came over and shook my hand. That was the first time I ever met him. And the second time I met him was through a kid from Yorkshire. They called him Andy. And anyway, he was going through. He had some business with him. And said, "Fancy ride through?" And he said, "I've met you before." And I said, "Yeah." Anyway, we were talking. And a lot of people say, like, he was a bully and that. I didn't find him like that. I honestly didn't. I found him all right. Honest. He knew I was a doorman and that. And he never ever said no wrong to me. He was always friendly. Then the third time I met him was again with Brian Cockle. They were in a pub at Seaton. And I was going past and I seen Brian's car. I thought, I'll pop in and see him. I haven't seen him for a while. And we just sat there and just talking in general. They'd had a job to do in Hartlepool, but that was their business, not mine.
Were you surprised to see the two of those turn up? I mean, and what did you make of Brian Cockrell?
Brian, well, how can I say, Brian was a hard man when he was younger, but we all get old, don't we? You know, now it's no disrespect to him because I wouldn't be disrespect to anybody. But I haven't seen him for a long time, Brian. To be honest, I haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, were you surprised to see Lee Duffy and Brian Cockrell working together?
I already knew they were working together. Someone had already told me about 18 months before this. Yeah. I already knew about that. And then Ernie Buick, I worked with the After Dark with him. And that is probably the toughest man I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I mean, Ernie obviously worked through in Sunderland. He's very notorious through there. And the After Dark, of course, for those people listening, was a nightclub which was open after dark and open until the early hours of the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where I worked when After Dark. Yeah.
Yeah. What? Any stories about Ernie?
Yeah, there were some good stories about him. I was in jail with him, and we sat in the. Where you sit before you go into the visiting room, just sat there in the little old room. And this kid come in, and he said to me, because obviously we stopped in jail and I knew everybody was being from Hartlepool. And he said, "Come on," he said to me, "Mick, tell her old fuck to move over." I said, "The old fuck will punch you up here, shouldn't have been a mate." I said, anyway, he just sat on the floor of the kid in the end, and he said, "What do you say?" I said, "Oh, no." I said, "Didn't say anything." I said, "He was just talking to me." But it could have erupted into something bad, that. Yeah.
The other name I mentioned earlier on, of course, was Viv Graham, and Viv was notorious in Newcastle. Of course, he did the same job as you were doing in Hartlepool. He worked as a doorman and ran the doors. Yeah. So, did you ever come across Viv?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I'll tell you a little thing what happened. I was sat in Terry Rich's because me and Terry used to go up together, and the phone went, and it was Viv on the phone, and Terry put the phone on loudspeaker, and Viv said, can you make come through? So I'd already met Viv a couple of times at the After Dark and then another place in Sunderland. And he said, I've got a little bit problem. He said, can you come down, give us on to get it sorted out? This was 2 days before the New Year's Eve, but I had about 50 odd doormen working for me in Hartlepool, and I had to make sure they were all right over the New Year and that.
Yeah.
The job was there, that was my bread and butter. So I said, Terry, I'll go through and give them on, but it's going to have to be after the New Year because I've got my own job to sort out. Anyway, he said, well, I'll appreciate it if he's come through. And anyway, he got shot on New Year's Eve, didn't he? Yeah.
Did you ever find out what the trouble was that he had?
No, I didn't know. No. I asked Terry because Terry was going through there. Quite a lot of things going through with Newcastle. Sunderland and Newcastle was going through. And he just didn't, I don't know, whether he didn't know or not, but he didn't want to say nothing about it. But I think we were doing a lot of work together. He would have told me if he knew what it was. Yeah.
You had a bit of trouble yourself, of course, Mick, and that was the shooting of Gurmit Singh. It's well known about in Hartlepool. What was your take on it?
Right, I'll tell you from the beginning what happened. I was in my allotment, which I've always been good, like my allotment is somewhere that it gets rid of all the stress and that, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm in there, and Terry phoned me. He said, Mick, I'm going to see Gurmit, and Buffalo will be there, he's minder. He said, if you come with me, Mick, I'll give you $2,000 to fight Buffalo. I said, right. Then I just made a joke. I said I'll fight him twice for that. Anyway, he come pick me up, off he goes. And what happened before that, I'm jumping ahead of myself here, his wife, Terry's wife, Kat, had phoned Terry and said the Gurmit had been to the door with a gun. No such thing. Gurmit was down at, what do you call it, where the kids go, Lightwater Valley.
Right.
Down there with his family. Anyway, he came back. And he showed on the pictures, because the time on your phone shows you the time we took the picture. And he showed me the pictures he'd taken, he was there all day. Anyway, I went up down Manor with Terry and this other kid, Kazi. Yeah, Kazi called him, yeah. And went up and Gurmit come out. Then Buffalo came out. And I said, Buffalo, let him get on with it, let him get at it. I said, oh, man, you getting at it. Buffalo said, let him fight. Anyway, Gurmit shut his coat off. And Terry wouldn't be on. And he shouted to Kazi, shoot him, Paul Card. Shoot him. So Kazi did. Right? So they all jumped in the car and fucked off. I said, Terry, you've got us in some trouble now, son. I said, what are we going to do now? I said, I thought I was coming for a fight. He said, oh, Mick, I'll stick by you. Well, it never happened. Anyway, later on, Gurmit came to visit me in prison, and he said, Mick, I know it wasn't nothing to do with you. He said, but them two, he said, I'll not have nothing, well, I can't tell you what he said, but he said, I'll not have nothing to do with him again. Right? So, anyway, last year, Kazi and myself, dead. We said he's found in his little flat, a week old, hanging.
Wow. Hell of a story that, and obviously you can read more about that in the book. You obviously got a custodial sentence of 7 years, Mick.
That's right. Yeah.
What was life like inside prison for you?
Well, when we got sentenced, we got a visit in the Bradwell. And I went down and I said, oh, that's because I've been with her for 2 million, yeah. And I went down and I said, well, look, Paddy, if you want, I said, you can have the divorce if you want to, because it wasn't fair since to wait that long. And anyway, she said to me, you silly old man, just going to do your jail how long you got life, and that was me done. I was happy. Not happy I got jail, but happy I could do it, do you know what I mean? There was no thinking I'd upset my wife ahead if she wanted that with me. And then when we did get to our house, right, we go in and put me and Terry, because we were both cat here, would have been in the firearms. Just for a little while I was cat here. And we went in, and on the bed there was a phone card, tea bags, powdered milk, the day's paper, some packet of biscuits on one bed. And the school said, the school knew me because he was from Hartlepool as well. He said, Mick, he said, them for you. He said, no, couldn't want to give him out. That was Terry Rich. Didn't want to give him out.
I mean,
I wasn't all right.
The day-to-day existence of prison can be pretty mundane and boring. I mean, you know, how did you get through your particular sentence?
Straight away. They gave me a job straight away on cleaning, which was all right because my cell, or damp, or whatever you want to call it, was open all day. And it was all right. That was fine with me. And then I'd been in about 6-7 months, maybe 8 months, and then the SO from reception came up, and he said, "They got me in the tools outside the office," and he said, "Oh, there's a job there in reception if you want it." I said, "Well, I'd been moved up to this area, and I was getting plenty of food. I was happy." And I said, "Oh, I'm doing well in this area." I said, "I'm getting plenty of food." He said, "There's plenty of food down there." Yes. He said, "You want to come down there?" I said, "I don't know." And then he said, "Well, look, it'll go well for your parole." I said, "When do you want me to start?" And then I went down, and the same bloke was, it's not nice to say that, but the same bloke was a screw, but he was good to me, because I'm not really into the screw guy. To me, they're just like policemen. And I just, he was really good to me. He got me to open prison. Great. It was good. When I said open prison, I couldn't believe that. I went in and I had my little bag with me. I'd give all my stuff away, like my phone cards, my back in that, because they said you couldn't take it through. When I got there, they didn't even search my bag. I was gutted over that, but that was all right there. I'd say while I was in there, I got a job to work. This couldn't happen in a million years. I'd got a job to work in the kebab shop, and there's a bit of trouble started. And Shappy, whose shop it was, said, "Mick, can you stop that?" I said, "Yeah, I'll stop it." When I said, "Oh, let's get out," one of them was a bit lippy, so I pushed him, but I pushed him a bit too hard, and his head was only plasterboard. His head went through the wall and scratched his face a bit on the bits of wood on the plasterboard. Anyway, I was out. It was gone, all done with. Gets back to prison, and the screw said to me, "You've been fighting him, yeah?" I said, "No." I thought, "Fucking hell, do they know that?" Anyway, it was only the screw's son. He'd come to help her with a drink, and he was on the fighting that, and it looked like I'd protected him, but I didn't even know him. What chance was that going to happen? Do you know, to anybody else? 1,000,000 to 1, isn't it?
It is. Another fighting man in the northeast who's a good friend of mine and a good friend of yours, Richie Horsley.
Yes.
What's your memories of Richie? He's a good fighting man, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah. We worked on the door for a long time. We were like working on the door for I'd say 8 years, something like that, maybe longer. But I've known him for a long time. I bet I've known him 30 years now. He's a good friend to have. He really is. Well, this book I'm doing, I wasn't going to bother. All I done was I wrote when I was in the prison. The psychologist said, "Write it down about your childhood, because that seems to be bothering you a bit." And I said, she said, "You'll feel a lot better." Anyway, I wrote it down, and I just sent it out to my wife. And I'll be honest, I forgot about it. I'd been home a little while, and my granddaughter Ava said to me, "That thing you wrote, Granddad, is all right, you know." I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "You shouldn't be reading it." I said, "I just want the kids to read it." She said, "Oh, no, we've all read it." I said, "All right." Anyway, Richie had popped down. This is about 3 or 4 months later. And he said, "Mick," he said, "why didn't you do a book?" I said, "Richie, I've got nothing to write about." Anyway, he said, "Oh, you're out." He said, he said, "Mick," he said, write the book. He said, "Honestly, I'll tell you, it'll be good." Anyway, I showed him what I've done. He said, "Oh, Mick," he said, "I can't read this. That's making me feel sick reading about your childhood." I said, "Oh, right." But he's been a good friend to me for a long time, Richie. He really has. When he found out I got the cancer, he came down to see me. He brought me some books down. And he said, "Mick, I'm not bothered." He said, "But Mick," he said, "I don't know what to say to you." He said, "But there's something to read while he's stuck in bed."
I was going to talk about that. I mean, you've been a fighting man all your life, working security, working on the doors. You've been in prison. Another thing which tests anybody's resilience, both mentally and physically. But from your perspective, you've been diagnosed with cancer. How's that particular fight going, Mick?
Well, I was getting chemotherapy for it, because they said when I went to see the doctor, they told me I had cancer. I said, "Well, look, how long have I got?" I said, "I need to set my stall out." I said, "I've got a wife and family." He said, "Well, I can't really say." I said, "Well, I'd like you to tell me." I said, "Instead of hiding it from me." He said, "This was 14 months ago." He said, "No, 16 months ago." He said, 2.5 years. I said, "All right." Anyway, I was getting this chemotherapy, and I've never been thin. I've always been 17, 18, 8.5 stone. I've never been a lightweight. And I went down to 13 stone. I thought, it's not fucking me, this. Anyway, I was talking to this kid, and he said, "Mick, try this cannabis oil. Not that shake you get in the shop." He said, "I've got a lad there who makes it." He said, "Try it." 11 weeks, I was back up to 18 stone. I've got no pain of it or nothing, and I'm still using it. No pain or nothing.
Wow. Amazing. Well, that's good. It's good to hear that, that things are, certainly getting better for you,
Yeah. I'm not. It's going to kill me in the end. It's just when the doctor phoned me, about the cancer, because I couldn't go to hospital because of the COVID, and he was phoning me every 8 weeks, I think it was, to say I was, and to take my blood. And when I first went to the doctor, this is how he explained to me. He said, your blood count at 9, he said, we'll give you end-of-life tablets. He said, it's 8.7. I thought, oh, fucking hell, I didn't think it was that bad. Anyway, he gave me start the chemo within about, I think, 4 days of me seeing him. I was in getting the chemo. And it come down to 7.4%. Then it come down to 6.1%. And then that's when I had to stop the chemo because of the COVID. So what I done was, I took this talking about the oil. And within 3 months, the oil had got down to 0.2%. 0.2%, that's brilliant, that. And the doctor, last time he phoned me, he said, I don't know what you're doing. He said, we'll keep doing it. He said, everything's looking well. I said, well, I'm going to queue. He said, no, it'll never go. It'll never go, he said. It is going to see you up in the end, he said, but it looks like you put a little bit more time on your life.
Amazing story. And the book, Hartlepool... The book's called Hartlepool Born and Bred. The Kindle edition is out now. The hardback, the paperback, is about to follow. And I mean, the description really tells it all. From a brutal upbringing where he was constantly beaten by a sadistic father, to finding his ideal job as a teenage bouncer, a job he stayed with until retirement. There's fights galore, shootings, and prison sentences in the Mick Sorby story. This fighting man is also a loyal friend, a loving family man who is currently enduring the biggest fight of his life against terminal cancer. Great description, and a book which I'm sure a lot of our listeners will thoroughly enjoy. Yeah,
it's the fight with the cancer. You know, I wasn't sure about putting that in. You know, but Jamie said it maybe be a bit better in. You know what I mean? It's a little bit private, isn't it, when you think about that?
It is. How proud are you of the fact that you're going to have a book out about your life, Mick?
You know, at first I wasn't into it because I didn't want my kids to read about how I was fetched up and what I'd done in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like my grandkids more than my kids, right? But then I thought, no, they have a right to know, and so I'm pleased that they're going to get a copy of the book and read it. I'm really pleased about that. Yeah,
Any regrets? Any regrets, Mick?
No, because that's saying you're wrong, isn't it? No, I've got none at all. No, none whatsoever. No.
Mick Sorby, thanks very much for your time. Take care.
And thank you. Thank you.